All right, everyone. So, welcome to the ABCs of Health. Today, we have another amazing interview. I'm talking to Kristen Duke, and today it's letter R, all about relationships. And I met Kristen in a different lifetime. We both worked photography. I was starting my business, and she was already the amazing photographer she is. And that's how I found her. And we've been virtual friends for quite a while now. I don't even know
It
how
has
long
been
it's been.
quite a while. I was trying to figure out when that was.
It's,
It's been a while.
well, I
7,
started
8,
the business
9
in
years.
2009, so
Okay.
it's been over 10 years. So,
Yeah, I think so. That's
and
awesome.
she's shifted a lot, and now she focuses on family, especially teenagers, relationships, and that's why I asked her to come here and share some wisdom. So let's start. I gave a little bit of a blurb, but what is it that you do? So give us what do you do?
Well, I'm really passionate about parenting teenagers and really just strengthening families. And so I really like to talk about different ways that I can help encourage parents as well as myself at the same time to strengthen the relationships within our family and especially with teenagers. I think people are who have little kids like yourself maybe are fearful of having teenagers someday, and so they kind of go into the teen phase, with the armor on and on the defense. And I really just want to help them be a little bit, just flip that around, maybe be a little bit more offensive and go into it with tools and conversation pieces and just ideas for how to better relate to their teenagers. But it is all encompassing. um, when the way we treat our teens who may be challenging is the way we treat people that we know that are challenging. I have, we all have family members or friends that are really difficult to have a positive relationship with. And so I think it's just applicable to all relationships, really.
True. And I'm going to post her Instagram website, everything under here. So let's start with the umbrella question is, what do our relationships have to do with our health, in your opinion? Oh, that froze.
Specifically when, oh, I froze. You said I had a little blur.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what is it that relationships, in your opinion, have to do with our health?
I think ultimately, I think we might first think of our mental health or, just stress. Like when we have a strain in our relationship with our spouse or one of our kids or another family member or friend, it's a weight that we carry around. And I think whether it's at the surface and we're snapping at people that we don't even have a bad relationship with or snapping at the people that we do, or whether we bury it and it's just this underlying that maybe we don't think about, but it can affect. So I think emotional health, mental health, and I think physically, when our emotional and mental health are affected, it can often affect our physical health too. Our body's very in tune with itself. And I think whenever we have strained relationships, it just affects us in so many different ways that we might not even fully realize.
What's your, I know you have a few of these, but what would be a few of your tips to um, because we don't always, it's not always glaringly clear when we're having some trouble or when when something may be out of tune. So what do you think are some red flags for us to say, maybe this relationship is a little out of sync? Like maybe I could fine tune this a little bit. Um, what do you think?
I think I talk so much about teenagers, and so I'll kind of go with that. I think a lot of times, um, I mentioned like the door slamming and the eye rolling. I think that's kind of behavior that parents can identify with that's unnerving. That, when a teen, or maybe it's a spouse, or maybe it's a young kid, responds in such a way that that's kind of like a signal or a red flag that says something's not here. Okay. Maybe it's them, maybe it's you, maybe it's the way that you're communicating between the two of you. But I think whenever there's any kind of a snap, maybe it's a friendship that you're not even having the door slam or whatever. Um, I see that as something as, okay, stop and think about what you could have done differently, maybe, or um, even if you feel like you conducted yourself in perfectly, think, what can I do to help ease their burden, because something's going on with them. I didn't do anything. I don't feel like I did anything, but something's going on with them just from the calm conversation that we have. So I really do, and I also really believe in. Um, it's so hard, I think, to apologize, and so I think in parenting, I think we can lose our cool a lot. I just lost my cool a little while ago with my family because I was so stressed with this long to-do list of, it's back to school time and there's all these forms, and my daughters are running cross country, and we had to go get a physical, and then I think I got the wrong physical, and then I was trying to upload it and it wasn't working. All of these things were going wrong, and I was irritated and I lashed out at my family because I was like, why am I the one doing this? Why do I have to be the sole person responsible? Why isn't my teenage daughter, helping this process along? And I was so stressed, and I kind of, it would have been nice for me. Like, I, I apologize, but I feel like later I just can say, listen, I can't do my to-do list and your to-do list and others to-do list. We need to figure out a way to work together. And I think I just never underestimate the value of an apology. And it can be hard for some people, but I think our kids especially need to see that we recognize that we're not perfect, and they need to see and recognize what it looks like to lose your cool and to come back and be apologetic and say, I was just frustrated. What can I do? What can I do to make it better? What can I do to help you? So I guess when I think of relationships, that's my first, is like family, because we're so close and we kind of get impatient with each other. Um, but I think it can extend to those that we don't live with as
Those
friendships
again.
where, we had a disagreement.
Okay.
I've
So
had
go back,
friendships
those that we don't live with.
yeah, so I think it can extend to those that we don't live with. I've had friendships that where we had a disagreement, and um, you know, apologizing. Sometimes they were like, some people just don't want to deal with a friendship that's hard, I guess. And not even hard, but just like, I think everyone expects friendships to just like, oh, we're supposed to be happy all the time. We're supposed to agree, and it's supposed to be easy. And the true friendships will have disagreements. And, um, I've done like apologizing and didn't hear anything back. And then I made a plate of cookies, or, just going the extra mile sometimes if it's a friendship that's worth fighting for. And I guess we pick and choose, and then the people on the other end pick and choose if it's worth fighting for as well.
Yeah. And when you talk about like the apologizing and because there's a weight, right? There's a personal weight when something like this happens, even if like, okay, maybe it wasn't my fault. Maybe I didn't do anything, or maybe I did the best I could in the situation, but it still wasn't the best that could have happened, or the best. And just that that eats up at us as well, right? Like it's hard to be in a good space and have that weight in the back of your mind. And another question for you is, what is your, maybe go to isn't the best way to say it, but what is um, a strategy that you feel is good to use in relationships to kind of create that balance when you feel like something isn't going great? Like, how do you bring that back to a good spot?
So I talk a lot about connecting in my online space, and we all have different love languages. We all have different ways that we connect, and I think we have to figure that out with the people that we care about. What's their love language? How do they like to connect? And I've really kind of done a lot of research and created a course really that talks about different ways to connect. Some people, like myself, I connect through conversation. I love talking, I love hearing stories. I feel very fulfilled when I hear someone that I love sharing with me. And then I have a son who's just not so much into talking. And I found he connected as a teenager through, he loved video games. And I asked him about his video games. I asked him, tell me about the world, that you're creating in this video game. Or tell me, I would often say, oh, what happened at school? Oh, I don't remember. How was your day? Good. Those are the kind of questions that's not really true connection when you're just getting one word answers. And, I remember feeling frustrated thinking, I must be a terrible mom because we can't connect through conversation. Well, that's how I connected, but I had to figure out how he connected. And I think with each person, um, it takes some discovery for that. And, for our family, we found like we connect through family hikes. And some families are like, my kids don't like hiking, so we don't connect through it. I'm dragging them and they hate it. Okay, sometimes you connect through going out to dinner, or sometimes you connect through watching a movie or listening to music. And um, speaks to somebody in the ways and really that's how you really build it. And it doesn't often mean communication. It often just means like having a shared experience, going out to lunch, going, simple, getting ice cream together or something. But finding that true connection that is reciprocates really builds the unity and allows for people to open up their hearts um, when there is some sort of disconnect. They can have fond memories to look back on and not just the negative memories.
And how would you say, turning back to the yourself or to the person in question, um, how does having these good relationships in your family, with your friends, how does this make your health? How does this make your life better?
I mean, relationships are all around us. They are an integral part of our everyday life. And when we have fractured relationships, life is just gloomier. And when we have flourishing relationships, we flourish and we can be our best self and we can do, you know, cross off the goals that we're wanting to, like our own self-worth is enhanced. And it is self-care to be able to continue to nourish those relationships. And we all know, when we are caring for ourselves, that we can do so much more. We can, be so much more. And so I just think it's just so encompassing. There's nobody out there that doesn't have a relationship, whether it's a friend or a family member or a child or something. We all are surrounded by people, and it's a challenge every day of life because we're surrounded by so many different people. Even if we're just frustrated with somebody at the grocery store or somebody that was in line who was mean to us and affects us, those are passing relationships. But there's people all around us, and we all need to figure out how to live in this world and not just survive but thrive in our relationships.
Well, and the worst punishment you can give a human is solitary confinement, right?
Oh, sure.
So we have to find a way. I was hearing an interview the other day, and this guy was saying that I think it's 60 something percent of our interactions during the day are not the closest relationships we have. Now, of course, this isn't for everybody, but it's the grocery store, it's the traffic, it's the right. So it's more than just that little unit of your tiny family, right? It's this bigger thing. Um, that's all the questions I had for you, but I want to know, do you have any last words of wisdom that you want to impart?
I think one of my overarching themes that I really try and remind people is to preserve the relationship. And I used an analogy with a strawberry. I think strawberries are just so cute and adorable. And I think a lot of people like to, if you don't like to eat strawberries, you like strawberry jam or something strawberry related. And so I really like the visual of preserving the relationship. And you think about preserving a strawberry. If we love strawberries in its natural form, then we want to know how to preserve them. There's a process to preserve them, right? We buy them at the grocery store, they're going to go bad in 5 days unless we preserve them. And so thinking about this jam making process, um, it's intensive. There's a certain way to do it, You got to chop them, you got to boil the water, you got to clear the jars, you got to stuff them in the jars the right way and seal them and preserve them so that we can enjoy them in a year, maybe in 5 years, however, however long. And so thinking about your own relationship, like the strawberry, whether it's a friend or spouse or child, if we want to preserve the relationship long term, if it's something that is valuable to us now and we want to continue to have that, there are certain steps to doing that. And sometimes it's a painful process and sometimes it's a long process. But if we want to enjoy the fruits of our labors years down the road, and especially with teenagers, when I talk about that, if you want to have a good relationship with your teens as adults, focus on what you can do now and how you can preserve that relationship with your own personal behavior. We can't control what anybody else does. We can only control ourselves and how we respond to eye rolling, door slamming, unkind words. And really it's just a lot about controlling our own emotions, which is not easy. But if we tell ourselves in advance, I'm not going to be affected by unkindness, I'm not going to be affected by eye rolling, I recognize that it's something within them, and I'm going to strive to be patient and understanding and ask questions. I love the phrase be curious and not furious. If you ask questions like, I'm just really curious why you felt like slamming the door when I was having a calm conversation with you. If we can think of those things, and then we can enjoy the fruits for years to come.
Wonderful. See, I knew you would be perfect for this. All right, everyone. So that's Kristen, and I am going to link all the things, Instagram, website, everything. And again, thank you so, so much. And everyone keep following along. This was letter R for relationships. Bye.